Okay, so what are the 3 big mistakes that we see that are keeping people stuck? Mistake number 1, you volunteer your time or think you have to volunteer a bunch of time to gain experience before you think you can get paid as a grant writer. We believe that if we haven't won several grants that we're not qualified to charge for our service because we don't know what we're doing. And then we are like, well, I'll have to volunteer, but I'm already really busy because I'm doing this on the side. Like, how long do I volunteer before I start charging, right? All of that. So maybe you remember this quote or whatever from Sheryl Sandberg from when she put out the book Lean In. And it said something like, women wait until they're 95% qualified for a job before they apply, whereas men will apply when they meet 60% of the requirements. Which, when I was doing the research for this slide, I found out that statistic is actually quite contested. Like, it's probably not rooted in research. But I think we can all agree, just anecdotally, like, this is a thing, right? This is a thing. Whatever the stats are, who knows? But, like, women chronically, we feel like we have to be so qualified, even though it's like, you're qualified. Like, if you're even watching this, like, you're a smart and intelligent person, okay? So what happens when we don't reach for our goals, like through a lifetime, plan it safe? This is why we have an income pay gap between genders. You're not challenged, you're not growing, you're flatlining. And then we don't quite have that life we want. I mean, I know you're not asking for a private jet, you just want to have a little bit more flexibility, right? Like, just a little bit more to kind of have that full, rich life that makes you who you are and what you want to be. So why do we not push ourselves out of our comfort zone? I bet you can answer this. Boom, boom, boom. Imposter syndrome. So I'm going to let that sit for a hot second. Have you experienced this? Yeah, of course you do. Because if you're pushing yourself in a meaningful way and you're growing, you're going to experience it. So I know, I feel you, because I felt this, like, to the point it was almost debilitating. When I submitted my first grant, when that company hired me full time, and I'd only like freelanced 2 grants for them, and then they hired me full time, and I did a $600,000 grant for a clinic for a tribe. I was so stressed out before that announcement came out, thinking if it isn't successful, like, I'm just gonna have to quit because they're gonna know I'm a fraud and I don't actually have any idea what I'm doing. Thank goodness the grant was successful, or else who knows what I would have done. I would have missed out on a lot of great life experiences. I mean, they probably wouldn't have let me quit. But what I found was, I was like, this is a normal thing to experience, but I just want, like, when you see it, recognize for what it is, you can also step back from it and be like, I'm not going to let this run my life. So what is the difference between those that embrace imposter syndrome and those that don't? It's the life we live. You know, so if you're fearful that you're going to spend all this time volunteering your time grant writing, and then you're like, well, wait a minute, how am I actually going to make this transition? How am I going to get out of this crappy cubicle or whatever? There's a better way. You can get paid to learn the skill of grant writing without the stress of writing a grant. If you're probably like, what? This is how. So we teach you how to put together a funding strategy, which is a specific methodology where you recommend certain grants to an organization that they should pursue. So you filter all the grants that are out there, you come up with those best few that are the highest likelihood that they would succeed winning. And that's a huge value, right, to the organization. And get this. Believe it or not, there's an organization out there that wants to pay you for your expertise and to do this. So when you charge $500 to $1,200 to help them figure out what grants to go after, like, A, you're getting the confidence and experience, but B, like, they're getting a really good deliverable out of this. This can be their roadmap for the next 12 to 18 months. Do you value something when you pay for it? Yes, and the same goes with whoever you work with. When you approach an organization to say, hey, can I volunteer to help you write a grant so I can gain some experience? The problem is, it's still kind of like a burden to them. Like, yes, you're providing the service, but they feel like, oh, I'm just like helping you because you're like new and inexperienced. And the relationship shifts when they're paying you to deliver them that funding strategy. And then all of a sudden they're way more actively participating and the whole experience is more positive.